Hello and welcome back to the second part of my discussion with Lee Russell. Today we continue to talk about training and compliance in a general sense, but also trying to cover some post-COVID considerations. And I think now we are approaching the restart of operations and the airports will be reopening. And again, with all the SOPs and operating procedures that will need to be reviewed and they will be changed with new sanitary and health and safety measures coming into place now. I think that the training and compliance piece is going to be a massive one for each and every airport operator.
Absolutely agree. And it's okay. I think it should be made clear from leadership, really, that we're all learning in this. This is new. And there's going to be an element of anxiety amongst staff and lots of questions and lots of experiencing the new normal, and it can be overwhelming. And from a training and compliance perspective, it's really about embracing that, being aware of that. He's going to feel a bit anxious and a bit odd, and well, we've always done it that way, and it could almost feel like information overload, especially because there will be a genuine pressure to adapt very quickly to the new world. But there are lots of little things that, as leaders, we can help facilitate. The one thing I think really to be mindful of is obviously when we were pre-COVID, it was a very well-oiled machine in most respects, from a security, from a customer service, from ramp, from airfield operations. There was a good, solid routine around, and people were using their skills on a day-to-day basis. I guess from a personal perspective, the one to watch is obviously there will be some skill decay in not running or having time off first and foremost, returning and learning new ways of working. So the challenge really is about how do we set up to ensure, one, we recognise there's going to be a bit of skill decay, and using a bit of threat error management to hone in on what can we do to support our teams returning post-COVID-19. Also being aware there's going to be quite a bit of emotion attached to that, and there's going to be lots of, well, I've seen how someone else has done it and they're doing it this way. Well, listen, there's a really easy way to do that. And, this is the time now that that interaction with staff and your team in the coming weeks is going to be vital, because I guarantee it will set the tone for the next 6 months. It really will. And just being able to facilitate those ideas. You can call it, and there was a blog I did last Friday, which was around about, capture those ideas. Call it a parking lot, an ideas board, or an improvement board, or just, post-it notes and a flip chart. Just being able to capture those ideas and just promise to commit 30 minutes once a week just to review them. And, if it's a great idea, but we're not quite ready for it, then just put a date on there to review it, because that engagement will be so important when you're trying to get the teams back up and running in New World. You're almost helping them buy into that and doing it in a soft way, and get engagement, and you will get, some of this is going to be kind of non-standard, but you'll find a lot more flexibility because you're being flexible. And I think that's really important from a training perspective, is ensuring that, everyone, whilst they may not feel completely comfortable and they might be feeling anxious, but if they have a way of not shouting out, but putting that anxiety somewhere and keeping the door open. It's so important, keeping the door open and ensuring that they feel that they have a voice and they can make suggestions and ideas, and making improvements together, which is really important from a training, and then ensuring that any change remains compliant. And it builds that, I go back to that honest and trust relationship between the employee and the employer. And, if you can be seen to be helping and supporting in the new world, whilst maintaining those standards that's expected by the regulators, it will really, really come to fruition and really help set tone for the next 6 months.
I do agree that laying those foundations now, when you say it, and also promoting this open culture that everybody can just come forward without sometimes, like you say, the anxiety for repercussions or maybe not being taken seriously or anything. Obviously, it's gonna be reflected in the new shape of the operations that we are all about to witness.
Yeah, but you raise a good point. People are going to make mistakes. There are going to be some clarity required, and things may not go to plan, or individuals may not completely understand. And it's how you handle those now in the next couple of weeks, months, that again will really set the tone for how the next 6 to 12 months will be. We are all only human. We will make mistakes, especially when we're adapting to a non-standard operation. And it's about
Mm-hmm.
the training and compliance teams really just using some common sense and embracing, and putting themselves in that agent or officer's shoes and saying, oh, do you know what? Maybe too many layers or something that's caused that to happen. And, let's challenge ourselves and ensure that we haven't created a monster of a procedure, and really have we kept it simple, within the guidelines. And it's so important that the compliance teams are embracing that.
This is a very interesting point, and I would like to hear your views on how to effectively combine the new health and safety standards or regulations or the guidelines with some other needs, like, for example, operational needs or training needs or compliance needs. And I think it's a tricky one because they do not always go hand in hand. Sometimes what makes sense from the safety or compliance point of view, unless reviewed and looked closely, may not necessarily support effective or the most efficient mode of operating.
You're absolutely right, Hubert. There is only one way in order to do this, and that's with a collaborative risk assessment. And what worked well for me previously was to ensure that the end user is involved in that whole process. Then someone from health and safety, someone from the training team, maybe, and someone from a first line managerial position who kind of has that overview and regulation specialist, because from that working group will then produce the foundations of a really good procedure. And because the end user's been involved, you're more likely to find engagement with the procedure, and also someone who can then feed in when you're doing your weekly review or fortnightly review, whichever you determine during this period, to refine it. And as we all know, as soon as you're engaged and involved, you're more likely to respond in a way that will then improve the passenger journey. So it is possible, but it's about having the right stakeholders from the very start of the process, not halfway through, not three-quarters. They have to be there from the point of concept. And then you take that group along with you, and then you find the best way of operating within the parameters and, importantly, remaining safe and compliant. And this is a great time to be talking to other airports. We're all trying to follow the same regulations. Some of us will be further along the road than others. And this is a great time to be picking up the phone to Airport A and saying, hey, what worked for you guys? How did you get through this? Have we interpreted this regulation correctly as you see it? Because ultimately, yes, we all work at different airports. Yes, we're all competing in one way or another. But at the moment, we should all be collaborating about trying to get aviation back up and running. And it's so important more than ever to be working together, reaching out, learning from others, procedures and risk assessments, and trying to achieve our goal, our common goal here of getting the airport and the aviation sector back up and running safely, compliantly, and ensuring that our customers, when they walk through the terminal doors, are and do feel safe and secure and with no effect to the passenger journey and the passenger experience where possible. I think most people currently accept there is going to be some reduction in passenger journey times, just because we're going to be putting extra steps in place to keep them safe and secure. But it's how we communicate it. It's about embracing and engaging with the passengers, talking them through the processes before they get to those touch points along the way through the airport terminal.
Mm-hmm. And the way I see it, everything that you said on, it should also help the business to become more coherent and cohesive in terms of the procedures between the airports, making the passenger travel easier and the experience better, and the whole industry safer as the end result as well, which takes us back to the issue of passenger confidence towards traveling, which is going to be another crucial factor now in the whole industry recovery phase as well. And I think you got it spot on.
Yes, we need to get that consumer confidence, but we need to make sure that our messaging is clear to the passengers, what we expect of them. And, you know, with that, a forewarned passenger about the process is going to be it will have a good experience through the airport in these new operating times. And a byproduct of that is the consumer confidence. Yes, actually, I did that flight. It was okay. You know, it's not how I remember the flight, but do you know what? The process at the airport, it was done in a way that I could see the staff were trying to look after my well-being. I was safe. I felt secure, and I departed on the aircraft, and I reached my destination. So it's so important. Again, we have an opportunity as any passenger comes through any of our terminals to make an impression, to make a real good message that our staff are empowered and they're absolutely trying to make their journey as seamless as possible within the new operating world. And it's, it will again drive that consumer confidence to buy the next ticket, to go and have that face-to-face meeting or go on holiday, or whatever the demand is, or requirement to use air travel.
You're absolutely right. And thank you very much for your views on that topic as well. And now if I were to ask you, and actually I am going to do it, to summarize our today's discussion, what would be the key highlights and takeaways of what we talked about?
So for me, it's been very much an opportunity. This is an opportunity to support our staff, our workers, really empower them and embrace the new normal, and work with our other airports, airlines, even cross industry, the world spinning again and, recovering from COVID-19. I think it's a brilliant opportunity to really make new connections, support each other, and enable our staff to deliver the service we all know they want to.
Thank you very much. And again, thank you for joining us today, Lee. Thank you for your time and the insights into the experience and sharing your knowledge and expertise that you acquired over the course of the last 20 years in this industry. Very valuable, very insightful, makes you think as well, especially now in the situation that we are on the verge of, like you said, spinning that world again and connecting us globally.
It's been an absolute pleasure, Hubert. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And thank you all for listening. Make sure that you tune in for the episodes to come.